um, some friends and family had encouraged me to write a book. And at first I didn't really want to because it seemed like a little too self-centered. And well, first a book, I'm not talented enough to do fiction. So if it's going to be a book, it had to come from me. And so what I decided to do was write a book that maybe can help inspire others, that can help them on their crappy days, make them sky high fly on good days, and just have a series of tips and advice, that they can use they can choose to use in their own life to help fight this nasty disease. So I'll get into a little bit more about my cancer journey, about some of the things that my posse helped me learn. Just one kind of housekeeping thing. If you have questions along the way, feel free to ask those. Otherwise, Patty and I can save up questions for the end, and we'll kind of go from there. And then, as we had previously mentioned, we'll also the intention was to have a raffle for 5 free books. If we if 4 out of the 5 end up having the book already, maybe we can give that a think of, is there some way that can help the library or something there? So anyway, why don't we jump right in then to page 2? So I'm going along in my merry way, I should say our merry way. The kids at the time were age 4, 2, 1, and 1. I was a fitness fanatic, doing regular triathlons and marathons. I had done the Ironman in 2004, which was a couple of years before I got diagnosed. And so I think fitness was always a real big piece of my life, of what to do and the importance of staying fit, the importance of keeping a good diet. And as the doctors have said down the road, it's very good that you had that habit, in terms of building good dietary and exercise habits, because that, according to them, has really helped the current state of where I am right now. As the slide shows, I was not only a fitness fanatic, but a fitness fanatic squared or something. But I had planned to do an Ironman once I retired, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do one now. So we did one. I say we, it's definitely a family event. There, we got all the pictures. We did it together. I say we because during it, we just had Anna, who was 1 year old when I signed up for the Ironman. She then grew to be 2, and Zach was conceived and born during the training of the Ironman. So that actually all worked out pretty good because Carrie had some time off. Anyway, I say we undertook the Ironman. You can see on the picture the 12:44:33. My goal was to break 13 hours. I couldn't have done it had not our 2-year-old Anna added a little extra incentive. She passed me at mile 15. And I'm like, there is no way this 2-year-old is gonna, or
That's so you don't talk.
is gonna pass me.
That's so you're not talking during the present. That's so
So
you're not talking during the presentation. Plug them back in.
Yeah. So anyway, I pulled it back together and was able to finish the Ironman in just in 12 hours and 44 minutes. So a very special event. And the other piece at the end of it, they had a shoot for where we could pick up the kids at the finish line and lug them across the finish line. Anna, who was 2 at the time, I picked her up, I carried her across the finish line, I set her down, and she goes, "Pu, Daddy, you stink." And that about sums it. I did. Um, so anyway, the I guess the one last piece, an important part of life was just family and career. Um, Raising the twins, those first 2 years was just kind of a blur. And then at the time, I was SVP of marketing um, at Land's End, and then just became um, president of Demco right before I was diagnosed. So lots of activity before cancer. Then is whatever, who's the Burl Ives on one of the Christmas shows, and then it hit. It hit. All right. I, um, all the signs were there of that I had cancer. I just didn't see them. I would go for an occasional swim in the pool, and it felt like I cracked a rib. My stamina was much lower than what I thought, than what was usual. I actually, the first bad thing that happened to my back was I picked up one of the twins from her crib on Easter Sunday, and my back just seized up. And I remember distinctly of fortunately I didn't drop Elena on the floor. I got her into the crib, but what was supposed to be Carrie and Mike weekend together ended up, or a couple days together, ended up being a very painful event. And as that summer progressed, my back and ribs in particular just got worse. So I was seeing a physical therapist, and after about 3 months, she said, "You know what, I just can't help you anymore. You seem to be getting worse rather than better. I recommend you see a spine specialist." So I went and saw the spine specialist. He took x-rays of my back and ribs. And you know how most like skeletal x-rays show like kind of substance to it. There's like whiteness to the bones and things like that. Mine, the entire skeletal system was this eerie kind of ghost-like see-through material. And he's like, "Well, you either have osteoporosis, which is very uncommon for a 44-year-old male, or you have multiple myeloma. And what you're seeing on the x-ray is the cancer just eating away at the bone until there's no bone substance really remaining." So he also took x-rays at that point. I had 2 broken vertebrae right then. And it was about 2 days later that I woke up in excruciating pain. Carrie somehow got me hauled off to the hospital, and by then I had 6 broken vertebrae. So it was pretty much then was the if you will, official diagnosis of having multiple myeloma. On the next page then, so what my reality is there's no sense, forgive the vulgarity, but pissing and moaning about your dire situation. It's like, suck it up, deal with the pain, deal with the cancer, deal with the treatments, stay positive and keep fighting. And I tried to do that throughout the 11 years that led to this. Multiple myeloma is not curable. And they had told me at the time that I had probably had about 10 years. And they had also said that it's kind of like whack-a-mole is a way to describe it, that you sort of knock down one piece of the myeloma and then another chunk of it, if you will, pops up. So it's this constant fight with myeloma to try and keep it under control, yet not have to require on such, not have to rely on such strong drugs to kind of help do that. So let's see, are we on the page? Okay, I think that's diagnosis multiple myeloma. Now on this page, if you could, Patty, kind of click through the animation. This represents my treatment journey. I tried everything under the kitchen sink, anything that was basically allowed by the FDA or we could get the insurance company paid for. So there's about 14, back a couple slides. There are about 14 treatments that I went through. I went through 2 stem cell transplants. I went through 2 clinical trials, ironically, both in Nashville. I just went through another clinical trial, and it does not look like that one's going to be successful, but there's hopefully at least it can still to some degree work and be effective at kind of holding the cancer counts down a bit or reducing them, so we can kind of keep the pain under control, and then some of the side effects like infections, which brought me into the hospital this past week. So also shown in here, 2 more clicks is, well, let's see, a couple more, 2 more clicks there. And then, so that shows all the treatments. And then the final 2 clicks of this slide shows dumbbells, barbells that I can't lift anymore, and a book called How Not to Die. That has been, again, really helpful in terms of the power of a plant-based diet, is the sort of punchline around that. So those have all been important pieces of what I do to keep fighting. And lastly on this, I have kind of a personal mantra of I'll give myself up to 24 hours to hiss and moan and feel sorry for myself. And then after that, it's suck it up and keep going. Pouting about it or feeling sorry for yourself is not going to help anymore. So that was a good learning for me, and it's been a good practice for me to follow that. You know, I have cancer, but cancer doesn't have me, and I'm not going to let it have me. So anyway, that's kind of the things I've tried to live by. In terms of where we are now, so I wrote the book in January. I finished the book in January, and this is the cover from that book. This is a 2-year-old family picture as well, but let's see if there's anything out of here. I think I'll just leave that. Oh, there's a couple of chapters that are some of my favorites, either because they got a little humor in them or they're laced with practical advice. One of them, if your saddle is blazing, ... So what do you do if you got really bad diarrhea and then hemorrhoids resulting from it? Not exactly a sexy topic, but one that is very real to cancer fighters. So there's a chapter on that. I talked about the let yourself feel sorry for yourself for up to 24 hours, and then it's back to the fight. The last chapter, just to kind of pull out, is recognize your silver linings playbook. I know this sounds like cliche city. And some have said, yes, cancer has totally made me a better person. I can say without question, I would rather not have cancer than have cancer. But given that state that I've got it and I can't change it, what I've tried to do is find the positives and then really try to make a big deal out of those positives. So our oldest, Anna, is going for microbiology at the University of Minnesota right now, and she hopes to go to med school here in Madison. That's one little example of a silver linings playbook. I think our family is pulled together and closer, especially Carrie and I, than we ever have. So that's been a huge positive. I call her Saint Carrie because she just, right now, especially, the worse I get, the more she is asked to do, or really in most cases is not asked to do. She just does it. But she's been an immense help for me through this journey, and there's no way I could do it without her. So with that, I wanted to keep it short. With that, let me turn it to either questions you have or anything that's been sent to Patty as well as a question.
I can unmute people, or they can use the chat, the chat option, either one. I'll get out of the screen sharing so we can. Okay. So, can you hear me, Mike?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, we do have a chat, one question. Can you see the chats?
I can see a chat from Shannon Rackman.
Okay, yes, and so asking you how your kids have been through this journey.
Yeah. So first, a shout out for Shannon. She leads the local chapter of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and helped run a bang up fundraising campaign this year. I never realized how much LLS does in terms of multiple myeloma research, and Shannon really helped open my eyes to that. So thank you, Shannon. I hope we raised a good chunk of money that can make a difference on research. So the kids have really been through this from day one. Anna, our oldest now, well, she was 4 at the time and is now 18, but she was always curious. and ask questions, and we wanted to be as honest as we could. And excuse me, that meant us openly talking about, okay, here's the next step for treatment, or here's what they're doing to dad's body right now, kind of thing. So we made sure we were with her. I think the best way was an open, honest approach, which ended up feeding her curiosity and now interest in microbiology, and she hopes to be an oncologist. Some of the other kids weren't as full of zeal as Anna was about learning all this stuff. So with them, it was a little bit more of a hands-off. Other than when it got to be really hard times. There was one point in 2018 where we had to have the full family meeting of dad might not be here much longer because the doctors had stopped treating me. We couldn't find any more treatments, and fortunately, miraculously, 2 weeks later, I started feeling a little bit better, and that certainly that was a very stressful moment for all the kids then. So in a sense, they deal with it their own way. We've, with the exception of, we've really tried to not, if you will, sugarcoat things or outright lie about things. It's been, we've done our best to be as honest and open, but also if they're really not into the medicine, don't go too hard on it. Go easy on it, or find an easier way to talk about it. And that, for example, right now with 8th graders, Elena and Maya, that approach has seemed to work pretty well also. They're curious. They want to know what's going on, but they don't need to know what my lambda light chain counts are or something like that. Whereas Anna is like, tell me the result kind of thing. So what's that mean? What are we going to do next? Should we try another clinical trial? She's almost like a second doctor in the family already. But so that's been, they've basically been part of the journey from the get-go. And that we think has been the best approach to take.
Mike,
Yeah.
what was your routine in writing the book? Was the book a meditation? Was it something you would do first thing in the morning? Different writers have different routines and different ways of going about writing. So what was writing for you, writing the book? And what was your routine involved?
Yep. Great question. First, my inspiration, and then my routine is kind of how I'll answer that. So from an inspiration standpoint, there were 3 books that really I looked to help guide me. One was a business book called The Daily Drucker, which is these 1 to 2 page snippets from sort of my business days of a management tip or something like that, a leadership tip. And what that taught me was like, be pithy, be short, whatever you're going to write. Your readers are probably very busy. They've got a lot of stuff to do. So acknowledge that busyness and try to come up with ways as best possible that acknowledges their time. The second book was Dr. Seuss, as a collection of works of just how much fun he had writing, with humor and puns and wit and all that good stuff. And then the third was an MIT professor by the name of Randy Pausch, who died of cancer with a very young family. Kids were like 6, 4, and 2 or something like that. So those were kind of the 3 books that inspired me. How I then translated that into my habits. I wrote this sucker from cradle to grave in less than 3 months. And it, as those who have read it can see, it's not a really long, book either, but it was intended to be that way. So I would typically, in the mornings was the best time for me to write. But I also found myself not able to write more than usually I would start like with an outline and then have that bridge into a fuller chapter, and then edit galore. Personal editing, as well as we had 2 family members that have written books in the past. So relying on their editing advice and expertise really helped me as well. But once we kind of set mind to this thing's got to be done by June 20th, January 20th was the due date. I started in November, and basically we just like put the heads down, found a publisher that I liked and could work with, and that had a similar mindset on things, a little bit more old fashioned, if you will, from a design perspective, which worked out very well for me. So that's, from a writing standpoint, it was the recommendations I would have is find that those points of inspiration that are important for you, and then also your personal schedule, like what are you going to do to try to stay on task. And my brother-in-law, by contrast, wrote a novel. Took him 2 years to write the novel, and now he's got it in the can for at least 2 years. And then he's going to pick it up and not touch it at all, not look at it at all. But he picked it up this summer now to kind of take a look at it and see if he thinks it's worth the ink on paper, or whether he wants to do significant rewrites on it or not. But that's fiction as well too, and I think that's a whole new ball game. But so that's been the routine on the writing side.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's another comment in the chat. Can you read it?
Let's see.
Do you want me to read it to you?
I'm just skimming through all of them.
Oh, okay.
Books
I'm just getting some general ones. You must be getting more.
Yeah, I've got 4 so far.
So what do you do to keep your quality of life good? You said eating is a little bit of an issue because you're not sure how your body's going to receive food, different types of food, you're not sure, but do you, yeah, I guess I'll just leave that question.
Yeah, there's no way I could write a book right now, given my physical state and kind of the bumpiness of the road we're on today, I wouldn't even try writing a book in this state. If I get my A game back and power it back up, then I have talked about second edition, that there are some things that I left out of the first edition that again may be helpful for those going through the fight right now, but we'll have to take that bad boy one step at a time.
Do you able to take walks?
Yes, and some days no.
Yeah.
So the last two I have, and probably ill-advised because it's so slippery out.
Yeah. No.
But we'll see if I can stay at it. I was working out. In fact, the day before I checked into the hospital with 3 different infections. I walked that morning with the dog, and then I was on the bike as well as treadmill that afternoon. So I can still do some working out. It's just I gotta watch it right now and just get over some of the stuff I'm dealing with right now.
Right. Right. Are you able to read yourself? Just read books or?
Oh, that's a great question, because the answer is not really. I lack concentration. So I can kind of like read for just the pure activity of it. But again, until I get feeling better, I can't read for pure enjoyment of it.
What about graphic novels? Have you tried those?
I'll have to try that sometime. That's not something I have in the past.
We have quite a collection of adult graphic novels that tell stories that are, more age appropriate. So
Yeah.
it might be something to.
Great suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounded like you were doing pretty well with walking the dog, and then this infection just kind of took you by surprise, and so now you just got to lay low, and that's probably your routine. You have some good days and good periods, and then you've got to just be patient and wait for the infection to take run its course. Well, we do have.
I'm sorry. Hi, Mike.
Yeah,
it's Maureen Harder and Tim.
Hey, Maureen and Tim.
Hi.
Hello.
I worked with Mike, 30 years ago. You were an inspiration then, way before this, and even more so now. I wanted to ask you, Tim's sister's husband has brain cancer. And he's doing quite well from the cancer perspective, but the brain injury is bad. It's not terrible, but it's, it's so, I don't have to tell you, it's so different from everything he's, the whole family has gone through. And I'm wondering, what advice would you give people to help families that are going through this, both the person with cancer and the families, the spouse? Any advice?
That's a great question, because the first thing I found is that people want to help, friends, family want to help, but sometimes they just don't know how to. They don't know what we want, what you want, and sometimes they don't even know what they want as a cancer patient. But what's clear is they want to help. So at the start of this journey, we didn't necessarily ask for help. The people from Land's End in particular started out by just a deluge of food. We had food 3 times a week. They were bringing to us like nice food, not the stuff I make. And so they were just filling us up. They'd put it in cold trays or warm trays, depending on what they needed. Excuse me. So what we found there was, don't be afraid to ask for help, because someone probably really wants to help you. And if they really don't, they'll say something. But I remember oops, we got a little blowback here, but the very first Christmas after I was diagnosed, I couldn't walk. I had to use a walker to get around, and then eventually a cane, and then could walk. But anyway, we hadn't put up any of our Christmas decorations yet. And a bunch of the neighborhood guys got together one afternoon and just figured out how to deck our house out with everything that we had in the basement, which they probably did a heck of a lot better job than I could do, unwinding stuff and whatever. But that meant so much to us. And I think it really meant so much to them too. One of the guys said to me, like, he was asking, well, somehow we got on the topic of how long do they give you? And I said, well, the average of what they said is kind of 10 years. And he goes, well, when have you ever been average? I'm like, you darn right, Steve. When have I ever been average? Thank you. So it's even just little saying stuff like that too, that can go a long way. But I would, the advice I'd give is to ask for help, and not, you can always do an an unexpected surprise and delight, but that, hey, we're going to be in town or something like that. What can we do to help? I know, like, the COVID world right now is
Right.
on some of that, but
yeah, and that's what's so hard is, when you're going through, your immune system is not great, right? So you don't want to expose people to things. So
right.
we're just getting through it, though.
Yeah, that's all you can do. My sister and her brother during this COVID time have done stuff like outside. Okay, we're coming over on Saturday morning and have some work lined up for us. It was like kind of fall cleanup time. It's like, we're coming, okay? And we'll sit outside. We can do a Tim the Toolman Taylor garage talk or whatever the case is. And helping for help's sake just, I think, helps the person who's donating their time, and really helps the cancer patient as well.
Right. Well, I'm picking up the book. I haven't read the book yet, so that's next.
Well, Maureen, I hope you win the one of the 5 free copies. So.
Yay! We'll give it a go.
Yeah. If not, I'll tell you how to do it. Well, whatever. Just
all right.
$4.99 for the paperback. But
okay.
Hey, I see a couple other questions I want to make sure we get through. So this is from Sue, and I'm just going to read it first of all, so everyone can hear it kind of verbatim. Thanks for being here tonight, Mike. On the side of all the medications and treatments that you've utilized, you've mentioned the importance of health insurance on your journey. What have you learned about the health insurance system and access or lack of access of many people? boom, you just hit like an abscess. This has been a hot subject of ours. Um, for example, our insurance company at times will, not often, but at times, they've denied treatments that are FDA approved. At times, they've made it just a pain in the arse to pay for costs on a clinical trial, which I have no idea why. So it's almost like first the doctor, it's not almost, this is how it works. The doctor first comes up with a plan of what we want to do. And then it's, okay, now talk to the insurance company and see what will they pay for? Because is this something that hopefully gets paid for by insurance, or is it something that we want to up it and try to pay for it ourselves? We have rarely had to do the latter. We generally fall in the former. But I think we're going to fall in the former category a lot more often as we move into more experimental treatments that are not FDA approved. So that's been the thing that I learned just about insurance in general. It seems like at one's sickest point is when it's hardest to find the insurance company. And that's disappointing. And I get it. I understand it. But it's just a hard pill to swallow in terms of that rule that in general, they're only going to pay for FDA approved types of treatment. So that's kind of the experience we've had thus far. Sue, does that kind of cover the question? Not sure if you're able to talk.
I mean, I can ask 16 more questions, but that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. And that one in particular, I wanted to make sure that covered your question. It's a tough one. It doesn't get into the 15 other topics around that subject, as you said, but yeah. Well, there's one more question here. Let me just so here's another one. I think it's best to read verbatim. I'm so glad I was able to hop in through, it was late to get into this call. This is from Brenda K. Apologies if you already shared this. What would you advise a person to say to a patient when learning of his or her diagnosis? What is comforting but not awkward for you to hear? Another really good question, because it's so personal, I think, in terms of some have taken the approach where I would prefer to keep this quiet and I want to keep it in my family. Others have taken a much more open attitude and approach, and I do want to share this with others. I want, for whatever reason that may be, of just like helping share to like kind of help me get through this, or share because I know you've been through this already and maybe you can kind of help me through it. So there's so many motivations behind sharing that it's probably good to kind of understand those motivations from that patient, the original cancer patient perspective, to see like why are you asking them to help and why would they be able to help? And then just kind of what's their personality? Because again, you and I know someone very well that is extremely private about their situation. Like they just don't want anyone to know. We didn't know for 4 years, and that's whereas like Carrie and I took a very different approach. That it's an open approach is going to be a better approach because it's going to be part of my life. I had no intentions of quitting work. I had every intention of continuing to try to figure out how to be company president as well as cancer survivor and dad and husband. It's like I'm greedy. I want all four of those. I wanted all four of those. So I knew I was going to be taking a more open approach from that perspective. So I think it's a little, I think you need to understand the new cancer patient and kind of what their motivations are, what their style is. And are they that kind of private person that just wants to keep it in, or just for the total opposite end of the spectrum of they want help, they want someone who's been there, whether that's the same cancer or not, but someone else that has gone through this journey would be very helpful to them, to learn to fight, to learn to cry, to learn to how you get through these bad day kind of things, because you're going to have bad days, and there's no page of silver linings in a book or a mantra that says give yourself 24 hours and then the fight is back on. There's still some days where you're faced with a crap sandwich and you got to deal with it. And that's hard. So you got to be real with yourself and with others too. All right.
Thank you, Mike, for sharing that. And very different people handle it very differently. And you are very open about it, and you really wanted to share your story and to help others. And that's your journey. I was wondering, people might have other questions that they didn't ask, or even if somebody, contacts me, are you comfortable with them, with sharing your email if people have questions, more detail? I don't know if the book, talks about more about the insurance questions that one woman asked. But I don't know, are you comfortable sharing your email address if people are interested in asking you more questions, or just, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe just starting out with the book, and then from there they can.
Yeah, a couple of things. First, the book is so much about the fight that may not cover a lot of topics, and I understand that. I am more than happy to share my email address to answer follow-up questions or other things.
Okay.
The other option is Facebook
Okay.
and Messenger can obviously be private as well. But yeah, I'll give you my email address now so you've got that.
Okay, and then maybe we can go on to the, I want to get everybody's name.
Yeah.
For the raffle, and I don't know if I have everybody. So why don't you go ahead and give them your email, and then we'll do the raffle.
It is M Grasee, GRASEE @gmail.com.
Okay, good. Maybe they may have some additional questions or maybe more personal questions that they would like to ask you.
Sure, and I'm happy to help in any way.
Well, I'm afraid we're running out. We're almost out of time. This has been very interesting and inspiring, and I wish you strength to continue your journey. And you know, it's been a rough year to have cancer on a year with COVID-19 and a presidential election. It's just enough to just do you in. So thank you, Mike, for having the strength and the encouragement to share your story. You do have 5 books that you're willing to, that you've generously offered as a raffle. And I have names here of people that I have captured on the participant list. But if your name, if I didn't call your name out, should we do it this way? Because I have pieces of paper for everybody that I've seen on the participant list, but I would like to read through the participant list to make sure that we've got everybody. So let me do that. Sue Stanton, Shannon Ratchman, Tracy Tripkovich, Annie Ballweg, Brenda King, Courtney, Dorothy Schmidt, Kim Grasee, Mary Lubke, Steve, I don't know who Steve is, Vicky Daubert, Maureen Har is all I have. So just go ahead and let.
Can I jump in?
If there's a name that I did not mention.
So there's a name to add, and it's a name from your past, Mike. It's Diane Solberg. It's now Janowak, so I figured you wouldn't know who I was.
Hi, Diane. Of course.
It's so great to see you, and I just wanted to say hi, checking in with you and Carrie. But it's just also thanks for all the updates on Facebook. I mean, the fact that you've kept your sense of humor about this and just kept it so entertaining as well as educational has just been wonderful for all of us to be able to follow this and to know when you need more prayers, less, you know, I mean, you always get the prayers, but thank you for keeping us up to date as far as what's going on. I never told you, my mother had this as well. And so it's been interesting to see all the different trials and everything that you have tried. And it's amazing that you're doing so well. And it's just great to see you and great to hear you again. So thank you for sharing this tonight. I'm glad I found it on Facebook.
Great.
And please tell Carrie hi.
Yes, I will do that, Diane. Great chatting with you as well.
Okay, I added her name. Is there anybody else that I missed? You can actually add it to the chat.
Did you get Tim and Maureen Harder?
Well, I have Maureen Har, but I.
Yeah, that's me.
Close enough. Okay, Harder.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, so I'll just
Thank
let
you.
Maureen Harder. And then there was so I think if I call your name, let's just say that you'll stay on with, and if Mike needs your address, is that how you'd like to handle it, Mike? We'll just have you get their address, or would you like me to get their address?
I can get the address, or if it's just as convenient for you guys to send it to me, either via email or in Facebook, then we're not taking the time of everyone on the line.
That's a good idea. Okay, they'll just send you their address on the email. Okay. Does that work for everybody? Okay. So I'm going to start picking some names now.
Patty, do you have Deb Endress?
No.
She says she's frozen.
No, I don't.
Okay, Deb Endress.
Thank you. I guess I didn't. I should just scroll across the top here and I just, okay, yeah, Deborah. And there is a Steve that I don't know who Steve is. She's muted, but do you want to unmute yourself, Steve?
Actually, it's Steve Seward or Becky Seward. But if my name gets drawn, please donate it to the library because I already have the book. Have a couple of them.
Okay, all right.
You know, there's some people in this world that just shouldn't get the book anyway. My sister Becky.
Smarty
Okay,
pants.
sister. Okay. All right, here we go. I'm here at the boardroom in the library and I'm just shuffling these papers, so I'll start picking them. The first one is Maureen Harder.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Congratulations, Maureen. The second one is Sue Stanton. The third one, Annie Ballweg. The fourth one, Mary Lubke. And the fifth one, way over here, Becky Seward, who's going to donate her copy to the library. So I've got, did you get them all, Mike?
I didn't get the spelling of Mary Ludke's surname.
Luebke.
Luebke.
Yes.
Okay.
So those are the 5. And if you don't
Why
mind,
do I only have 4?
okay, Maureen
Oh,
Harder.
do we have Diane Janikos?
No, I didn't pick her.
Goldberg, you didn't pick her. Okay.
Sue Stanton, Maureen Harder, Annie Ballweg, Mary Lebke, and Becky Seward.
Oh, and Beck's gonna donate hers. Should we thank you, Beck and Steve, for donating it. Should we pick out another free book for someone?
Well, I was saying that the library does have copies, so we could do that. We could pick out a different one and not have.
If you don't have enough copy, if you could use the extra copy, Patty, I'd say I'll take care of that and drop one off for you on behalf of Becky and Steve.
Okay.
And then I've got the other 4.
Okay, that sounds
Does that
good.
work?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Plus library. Okay.
All right.
On behalf of you, Mike, not Becky and Steve.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Tim Marine, Annie, Sue, and then Mary. If you could just email me your postal address. Again, mgrasee@gmail.com. And then I'll take care of getting a book to you.
I think they're all still on too. Yeah, it looks like they're all still
Oh
here.
yeah, we are at that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. All
Well, I
right.
know we're short on time, so on behalf of all of you to take time out of this nice balmy Monday evening, thank you. This means a lot to me. Every voice matters in trying to get the word out of and to help our library. Obviously, those 2 things, get the kind of the cancer word out, and then secondly, help libraries, which I know this is just a little step in the help libraries thing, but I'm glad we're able to do that too. So thanks for the donation there.
Well, thank you again, Mike, for your generosity. And yeah, the library is here for everyone. And we just appreciate having a sense of community. That was what the library is for, is to bring people together and to share their stories. So thank you again, and please have a blessed holiday, and everyone, and just pray for the world, really pray for everyone and everything, and that there will be peace in the new year. So.
Hear, hear.
Yes. All right.
Great talking to you all.
Mike.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Okay. Good night.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.